Hi, this is Joseph Rubens, and this is the second part in our knowledge clip on leadership in organizations. And I hope that after watching the first part, you also had a chance to go over the Milgram study and the Zimbardo study with the McDonald's. Now, today, I would like to discuss with you especially contingency theories and also practice-based theories of leadership. And for this, I've actually changed the title of leadership to leading. And one definition of leading could be the process of influencing the activities of an organized group in its efforts toward goal setting and goal achievement. Now I'm using leading rather than leadership because nowadays, in the 21st century, it seems that people have to be able to both lead and follow. The reason for this is that because of the complexity of the marketplace, very often there will be somebody else who's a bigger expert, who is better of taking charge right now, and then it would be wise to follow that person, even if you are officially the leader. For example, I am the head of a 5-person team that takes care of the course of organizational behavior. So officially, I'm the manager, I'm the leader. However, in terms of writing down exam blueprints and grading sheets, there's one of the colleagues who's so good at that, who has such a clear mind of that, who also really enjoys doing this, that when we're going to the process of looking at good exam questions and a good process there, he is then leading and I am following. At the same point, there is somebody who's very good in organizing an event so we can get an award going and so that everything is managed and taken charge of. Well, when that person takes on her role, she leads and we follow. And that is natural, the skillful practice of leading and following. As some of you may know, my research expertise is actually in self-organized organizations. So organizations that have very little official leadership hierarchy, but much more fluidly coach each other, lead and follow. And therefore, right now, leading and following. And I would like to ask you to think about why you follow someone's lead. And very often you come to answers referring to the previous slides, like somebody's expertise, like somebody cares for you. But also, why do you lead someone to follow you? Or what do you do then? How do you lead? What is your particular leadership style? And how do you follow somebody? And what does this depend upon? So here again, this invites you to very critically reflect, how do I do this? And it will be fascinating to notice, again, how different we are, and also sometimes how similar we are reacting to that. Officially, there are what we call contingency theories. So different from the great man or trait theory or the behavioral leadership, you have contingency theories. And those theories basically say that a leader must adjust her style in a manner consistent with the context. And one particular model, which was developed by Hersey and Blanchard and given the name situational leadership, That basically says that, again, you have to determine what is the most effective style of influencing. Now, the interesting thing about the contingency theories, and there's others, we'll take the one of Hersey and Blanchard as one example, but there's many others, but they believe, their assumption is that leaders can alter their style. And that, for example, I can be very directive to somebody. I can tell them exactly what to do. And another person, I take on a much more listening role. I listen, I wait. And another person I basically never see because I have delegated my full task to them. And I am able, depending on the person, depending on the context, to adjust my style. Now, there are some critiques on this. My own personal experience is that yes, people can adjust their styles. I mean, people, humans, normally we grow, we learn, we change. And at the same time, there's also a basic or a preferential pattern. Some people, for example, are so task-focused that that will always remain their preferred and habitual style. And maybe once in a while, they, sit down, have a cup of coffee with another person, but it is not their typical way of acting. And again, also for yourself, as a student reading this, think, how do I deal with leadership, with leading and following? Here is a situational leadership model. I will not go through it, but if you click on this YouTube link, you actually get one of the trainers perfectly explaining how this works. So here are the different styles. So when you direct, you give instructions and you supervise. When you coach, you explain decisions and you give opportunity for clarification. When you support, you share ideas and facilitate decision making. When you delegate, you turn over responsibility to those people. But more in the video. Go and check it after this one. Now, within the Oxford textbook and within the literature, there's also a chapter called Practice-Based Theories. Now, that doesn't mean that the previous theories were theory-based theories, that they were not so practical. Some of them were. But with practice-based theories, we also mean some of the critiques that people have made on, for example, great man theories and others. One of them is Henry Mintzberg. What did Henry Mintzberg do? And he did this since 1973 and still today. He went to observe managers. He went to observe leaders. He actually doesn't distinguish between the name manager and leader. And when you look on the YouTube video clip of his, there's several ones, you will realize why. But he basically observes managers, leaders. And he then wrote a paper in 1973 saying, okay, this is the myth. This is what we believe they do. This is what we believe these great men and women do. For example, sitting behind a desk and thinking about great schemes. And then he also noticed this is what they really do. They get interrupted a lot. They don't spend more than half an hour doing one thing. They get interrupted and talk to somebody. Then they get a phone call. Then they check their email. Then they go into a meeting. When the meeting is done, someone asks them a question. Then they go on Skype with a customer. So he really wrote down what they do in practice, away from the idealization. Now, what I love about Mintzberg, of course, again, it's about the practice, about what people really do, especially in his 2009 book, Managing. he takes 29 managers that he closely follows. And there are some common characteristics of what these people do. And those characteristics are sometimes similar to previous findings. So please go on YouTube and punch in Mintzberg on managing, and you will get several clippings on that. Now, I've also developed a practice-based theory, although I should say it's probably more of a contingency theory. Well, and it is called embodied leadership with Tango. On YouTube, there are several clips explaining it, but what it briefly is, it's actually a leadership training, and it is based on the idea that I previously said, namely that nowadays people need to be able to lead and follow. And they need to be very smoothly able to transit from one behavior type to the other type. Now, why is it called embodied leadership? Well, it's a training course where you actually feel in your body, when am I leading, when am I following? And what we use to feel that is the Argentinian tango. So within this training, we're using tango as an analogy, and we're doing moves together, and people can then easily notice, wait a minute, I'm leading now. Wait a minute, I'm following now. Or I'm not very clear in the way I lead. Or I'm not very clear in the way I follow. And it's like a direct check with your own particular behavior. So in addition to, thinking about your own style, and when you adjust it depending on the context, together with the tango dancing, we actually throw you in a context with a particular partner, and you then have to be able to deal with it at that specific point in time. So these were the two knowledge clips. Of course, in addition, go on YouTube for the other ones about our course, Leadership or Leading and Following in Organizations. Thanks for listening.